Welcome back, everybody, to the NARPM Radio Podcast. I'm your host, Pete Neubig. And as I say every week, we have an incredible show, but this one's even more incredible than normal because I got my good buddy, Derrick Karimian here. He is the broker and co-owner of Crystal Properties, a Northern California real estate firm, which just property managing in California. God bless you all. He's got over 35 years experience in residential property management with more than 20 years in the industry. He's known for strategic leadership, systems-oriented approach, and commitment to client service. He currently chairs the property management committee for the Solano Association of Realtors. Derrick's journey reflects a deep belief that you don't have to burn out to build something great. Derrick, thank you so much for being here, buddy.
Pete, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you having me on. I love your show, so it's an honor to be here.
And it's been a minute since we actually hung out. Last time I saw you, we were NARPM, California NARPM 2 years ago when I was in
Yes,
Northern California, where you took me around to some of the local establishments, and me, you, and Felicia, my wife, we got pretty happy on some of that great wine there in Northern California.
that's right. You got to enjoy the fruits of California, and when you're in Napa, you have to enjoy the fruits of the grapevine.
That's right. That's right. So talk to me a little bit about Crystal Properties. So how what I love the origin story. How'd you get started? What made you create a property management firm? And you and I were talking in the green room. So today's topic, we're going to literally talk about how you went from old school property management systems to kind of new school, and love to hear that journey. But just let's talk about your beginnings first.
So my beginnings in property management, funny enough, start at the age of about 4, and this is when my parents purchased a very, very small property management portfolio of about 50 units. We're talking about 1988 here.
Wow.
So I don't know if you can picture property management in 1988, but in the 80s and the 90s, property management had a very specific vibe. And that vibe was women in their 40s and their 50s drinking way too much coffee, smoking way too many cigarettes. And that was property management. So I grew up in the back of an office like that. I played with the leasing agents when they weren't showing properties. They were playing with me. So
You
I
literally grew up in the industry.
I did. I did.
Wow.
And the last thing I wanted to do was property management growing up. So fast forward a couple of years, I'm 21 years old, 21 years old. Mom's not doing so well. Company's, struggling. She's, I think, down to maybe 4 employees at about 500 units.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she unfortunately had somebody pass away. Somebody was going on maternity leave that never came back. She had an HR issue of somebody that wasn't showing up. So
So give
it
me
was
the
a lot.
timeline here. Is this early 2000s at this point?
This would have been about 2004.
2004. Okay. So,
2004.
so
So I came in.
500, 400 or 500 units with four people. That is, and again, I'm just thinking back in '04. Not a lot of technology at that point. So that's that's a lot of properties for that few folks.
So it's an experience in firefighting when you have that few people and you don't have the technology to actually properly anticipate issues and follow up with issues. It's literally people coming into the front lobby and screaming, "Hey, I've had this leak going on for 10 days and it's not fixed yet." That was kind of what I had walked into.
You got pulled back into the family business, basically.
I got pulled in because things were getting chaotic. Again,
What were you doing at the time?
I was floundering in college. I was doing theater. I was uh,
Isn't that more of a SoCal thing? Theater?
the theater.
Yeah, because
Theater's it's a Bay Area, New York kind of thing. People that go down to LA. they'll do theater, but really their passion is going to be more on the film side.
So the property management firm, a theater kid, basically saved the PM firm. Is that what I'm hearing? I
So
think there's,
I
I
came.
think there's a show we can write from that. Like, there's got to be some kind of musical or something.
Yeah, there truly is, and I'm sure we could write with, particularly with the help of ChatGPT, we can come up with a heck of a script. So I wouldn't say that I saved it. I came in, I helped stabilize it, and then my sister came in when she finished her business degree in college, and between the two of us, and my sister, of course, is my business partner. Between the two of us, we really helped turn things around.
So,
So in
how
2000,
yeah,
oh,
so
go ahead.
that's an '04. How long, going back into your memory banks, it probably seemed like forever, but how long did it take you guys to stabilize and turn things around? Was it a year, 6 months, 2 years? Like, how long did it take for something like that?
A good 2 years, I would say, a good 2 years. By that point, there were some more employees on the team. You had her and I who were coming in. We're millennials, so we were able to come in and immediately start teaching people how to appropriately use the computers. Yeah, I mean, Control Alt Delete was eye opening for these people.
I can only imagine what the technology looked like back then. I'm guessing they were doing everything on like ledgers, like literally like notepads and stuff.
So there actually was a reasonable technology. It was called Property Manager Edge. So this is an older platform that was discontinued, I want to say in about 2008. But Property Manager Edge, so they had a reasonable platform. The problem was is that they didn't have a server because cloud-based technology didn't exist at this time. So they had to have everything on a server.
Mhm.
This server had to, have multiple computers running on
You
whatever
have
it was,
and you have to
Windows
get like updates, like
XP
the
or
Windows updates and all that good stuff. Yeah.
correct. So if any piece of data, got corrupted, it could screw up absolutely everything.
Oh, wow.
So it's not like the days today, Propertyware and Appfolio and Yardi, where everything's in the cloud and it's backed up in four different locations. So so any mistake, it was really all of our information and all of our ledgers could disappear like that.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, especially if you don't do a backup and the server croaks,
Right,
yeah, you got
right.
to do those tape backups back in the day, right?
Oh, it was an absolute mess, Pete. But I came in and I had the experience of building websites as early as fourth, fifth grade. So that was one of the first things that I was able to do. They had a website that at one point was active, but hadn't been active in about 3 years.
Oh
So there
wow.
were listings on it that had been rented for years. And all of the information was just completely outdated, the contact us and all of that. So that was one of the first things that I was able to do to really move the ball forward. Being an HTML coder, old school HTML coder, I was able to really set us apart from the local competition just as the web was really becoming the way that everybody did business. So I think that's lesson number one here, Pete, for modernizing your company. You have to have a dynamic website in order to have that visibility. I think that's huge. That's key. And our growth in both size, scale, but also in our operations was all fueled by having a good online presence.
And I think you can, there's this, there was that evolution or revolution, how you want to say it, back in the, early 2000s where internet was just becoming something that people would actually use, right? Before that, it was just like BBS, bulletin board services and all that stuff. And there's a new revolution coming with AI. And so I think somebody listening to this could literally take that concept of you were first to market with using new technology at the time, which is kind of funny to say now in 2025. But somebody, if you can really crack the AI code, right? Like, because more and more people are searching using Chat GPT or using some AI base. If you can get like to there first and they find you over like the old Google method of searching, that might be a lesson learned. So take me through. So now in 2008, 10, around there, the vendors are just not there to support the industry as well, right? So what is the company look like in 2010? So you have a static website. I'm guessing there's no SEO. So take me through like some of the, like there's no tenant turner. Like take me through some of that stuff. How'd you do leasing? How'd you do all this stuff?
Oh, leasing. This is fun, Pete. So when I came in 2004 through about 2000 mid 2005, the way that you did leasing was you had your paper listings and you had your goodwill in the community, and people would come in and get your paper listing, and then you tell them go drive by everything. There were no photos or anything like that. And then in order to get more people in your door to come and grab your paper listing, we used to always have at least 40 printed because that's how many people would walk in our door and grab that paper listing. We would do a classified in the newspaper, and we'd go and change it every week. And essentially, you couldn't fit, our ad was. I don't think people could see this, but it was a decent size ad, but we could fit maybe 10 listings on it. So what we did was we rotated those 10 listings in the newspaper, classified section, like that's where people used to go, and we had the very clearly in there say habla español. To get more listings, come visit our office, 2101 Tennessee Street. So we use the newspaper to direct traffic, which in 2025 is absolutely hilarious.
I just have
Uh,
one question. What's a newspaper? No. So,
uh,
I mean, think about today. You have Evernest and Mind, and you have HRG, of all these companies that are able to be in multiple markets. Could you even see that back in '05? Like, that's not even possible.
No, absolutely not. In 2005, I'm trying to think of who the biggest player was in 2000. It was all regional players, and by regional players, it was pretty much city by city. You might cover two, three, four cities, but going beyond that was difficult because you really depended all on goodwill, and you can't continue to build goodwill city after city without having multiple locations.
So you're the young buck coming in. You're doing this really interesting new technology called websites. Um, and then I'm guessing you're the one who, you and your sister are the ones who are the forefront, like pushing as new technology comes out. Now people haven't changed as far as mindset and change, right? People don't like change. So what were some of the things that you did to get your team to accept change?
Oh, that's a good question. When I came in, there were definitely some older players that had been there for 10, 15 years. Craigslist was one of the first big steps forward as far as marketing online, and then using
Yeah.
Craigslist to draw traffic to our website, which the newspaper did that as well. How did I get them to go along? I don't know if at the time I really did. I was too young, and I would say that people in that generation have a lot of trouble putting faith in new things. Um,
Let's all right, let me rephrase the question then, because you have been on the forefront of technology ever since. You're in Northern California, so that makes a lot of sense. How do you get your team today to embrace new technology and change?
uh, that's
Now
actually
that you're
much
older and
easier.
wiser.
Much easier to do. Communication channels are much clearer now. The vision that we have of the company is much cleaner. So I think that's probably step number one is to have a vision.
Hmm.
Step number two is to make sure that your team understands that vision. And then if those changes are in line with your vision, it makes it much easier for your team to have that buy-in and to go forward with that. If part of our vision is expanding while maintaining a top tier service for our clients, well, part of maintaining a top tier service for our clients is having low vacancy rates. And if we're going to try out a new leasing platform, while there might be some temporary pain while we're learning it, if it starts increasing, our occupancy rates, if it starts decreasing our days on market, it's a lot simpler to get people to get on board.
Now, you've been in this business a long time. Has your vision changed over the years?
100%.
It has. So that's not that's pretty normal, I think, right? So you have this one vision, because like you don't know what's going on, and then you built that vision. As you were growing the business, did you have people that just were no longer that you outgrew them? Did you outgrow some team members? And how'd you handle that? Because those are difficult conversations.
Absolutely. We've had team members that we've outgrown, and we start getting into HR issues when we talk about how to resolve that. Um, I think you need to have very clear expectations of what is needed of the staff, and that starts with your employee handbook. And if people are starting to fall away from the vision, if they're starting to not follow that handbook, you need to let them know sooner as opposed to later. And unfortunately, sometimes that means oral warnings, write ups. It means negative annual reviews, which very, very key is you need to have at the very least annual reviews so that your team members
And
know if they're
that
on
is the
track.
third time today that I've heard annual reviews. And I'm going to be honest, because I'm the honest broker here at NARPM. I don't do them. And so now you're the third person today to tell me how important they are. So if you're listening to this and you're not doing annual reviews, don't be Pete, be Derrick, do them. And I'm going to start doing them. Derrick, it's on my list. Next year, I'm going to do annual reviews.
Well, and Pete, that's one of the most important things I've learned in the last 5 years is sometimes you don't want to be Derrick. And doing annual reviews, you don't want to be Derrick. Derrick is too nice. I have my second in command, who's my VP of Ops.
Let me guess, it's your sister.
She
She's the pit bull.
Oh no, actually, Crystal sticks to the real estate sales. I'm on the property management, so I run the property management. She runs real estate sales. But my second in command in property management, the VP of Ops, she is the one because she's much like you. She's operational minded.
Mhm.
She's by the rules. You know, she's like a DC in the disc.
Yeah, too
So
high of an eye. You're touchy feely, right? You don't like
I,
confrontation. You don't like hurting people's feelings.
I'm a high I, but funny enough, in times of stress, I become a high D.
There you go. Hey, so okay, so let's dive into this a little bit more because one is you were younger than some people that were working for you. Now that's not the case, right? We're the guys with the long tooth now. We've been around, but two, as you're outgrowing these folks, how important is like the culture? Like, so I get it. Like, you have to have these. And now, all right. So I got so many things here. So I want you to talk a little bit about culture and how that affected it. And then two, do you think that you should have quarterly reviews and with the long along with an annual review? Because I've been told now 3 times that when you have an annual review, there shouldn't be any surprises. Like people, are like, what do you mean I'm not doing a good job? So talk about the culture and then talk about how you led up to those annual reviews.
Okay. So culture. We have had the culture that we're seeking listed in several places within the office. Were we doing enough action to make sure that we were living up to that culture? I would say up until about 2 years ago, no. We just had the list and saying this is the culture that we want. Funny enough, the culture change that we were looking for started happening as we parted ways with a few team members that truly didn't live up to that culture. Then we didn't really have to talk about the culture as much. We lived the culture. And I think you're 100% right on. If you're doing those quarterly reviews and you're talking about things like are you living up to the culture? Are you living up to the company vision? Here are ways you can improve. I think that's a great way to make sure that it's happening. For monthly meetings, one thing we started doing as we were really focusing on making sure we were delivering the culture that we were looking for, instead of what we called compliment ball, where we toss a ball back and forth, digitally, we'd have to pretend to toss the ball, but you toss the ball back and forth and you'd give somebody on staff a compliment, something that they did that was going over and beyond. Well, we changed that to something that somebody did that exemplified our culture.
Love it.
And so each meeting we would go around, we'd take about 10 minutes. When was something either living up to our culture or one of our core values? And that became huge. Not that people became competitive, but you started getting noticed when you were exemplifying what we were looking for.
Man, I'll tell you, I do that in my monthly meetings, and we do just that same thing. I don't throw the digital ball, but I just say, does anybody have? First, we go through each one of our core values, and I pick on somebody randomly, and I say, what's the value? What's one of our values, and what does that mean to you? And then I say, does anybody out there have any, after we go through the core values, does anybody want to recognize somebody that's exemplified our core value? And it's the one piece of the meeting that I do not make a time constraint. If we go 20 minutes, we go 20 minutes, and I will get the time back somewhere else. Because I'm such a huge believer that if you have the core values that, and they have to start, top down, and people live those values, this way, when somebody comes in, they just know that these are the values and they just conform if they didn't have some of those values. Now, we hire based on values, so we don't typically have that challenge, but I'm glad that that you do that. So it kind of makes me feel like I'm doing something right. So all right, so now talk to me like because you've been doing it since '05 or '04 or whatever, like when you're 4 years old. Your company looks completely different now than it did back in 2008.
Correct.
So let's talk about some of the tech stack that you've implemented over those years, because now it is almost too many tech stacks, right? Have you reached that challenge of there's like, oh, I don't even know what to log, Derrick, I don't even know what to log in. You bring in a new piece of software in here. Like, t talk a little bit about that challenge and then some of the tech stack that you guys are using.
Yeah, so that's been a real issue. I'll go to a NARPM convention, I'll walk the vendor floor, and if I see it's something that's going to advance our game, I'm very eager to try to bring that in. For property showings, we've tried Show Mojo, we've tried Rently, we've tried Tenant Turner. Currently, we're on Rent Engine, so we're trying Rent Engine out, which is one that we've heard very good things about. I will say their support is phenomenal. Still learning the platform more, so I'll have more to say on that in the coming years. We've on the main software side, Appfolio has been where we've been since 2013. Appfolio has been very good to us. We've looked at different software platforms, but Appfolio is kind of the jack of all trades. You can do pretty much everything within Appfolio, and I think that's more the direction we're going, is to do more within Appfolio because our tech stack's gotten so big. So we've recently upgraded the service with Appfolio so that we can start eliminating some of these extra services.
Interesting.
We're using property meld right now. So you have a property meld login, you have a rent engine login, you have an Appfolio login. We're using Monday.com for workflows, which is great, but it's another login that you have to use. Uh,
You have a VPN login.
we have a VPN login, absolutely. Now, fortunately, it's just people on the HR side that have to log in on that. However, it's another thing to log into.
So you're going from disparate systems back into a once centralized, if you will. That's really
Correct. We're
interesting.
we're trying to do that more and more. We're not going to eliminate everything, but
Right.
instead of having 9 logins, we're hoping that we're going to get down to 3 or 4.
That's really interesting. Can you imagine running a property management business without an accounting software like Appfolio?
I know some competitors that do that, and it blows my mind. And I've let them know. I said, it's worth every penny. You need to do this. I can't imagine doing this on a spreadsheet.
Yeah, I had one company that I know of. They were trying to do it all through QuickBooks. I'm like, oh my goodness! Like, imagine doing property accounting in QuickBooks plus your corporate books. All right. So what, other than coming back and doing centralization, Let's talk vendors real quick. What is something like you said you moved from Shomojo 10 Turner, and I don't want to put any of those guys under the bus here.
But
So, but what are some things that you're looking for from vendors that would make you consider moving to a different competitor or changing out of their software? Like what are some of the things that these vendors really should do to make sure that they keep our business as property managers?
support is key. One thing I can't stand is when you have to search for help. And you know what? This is a big company, so I will throw them under the bus. Google Workspace. Finding out how to get help in Google Workspace is like pulling hair. So I would say that's one of the biggest thing that a vendor can do. It should be easy. I'm not saying that there needs to be somebody available on the phone at all times, but whether it's a chat function, whether it's contact us and here's their information, you shouldn't make people search and then go, oh well, search the community boards. The answers are in the community boards. Half the time they're not in the community boards, and you know what? I don't have 30 minutes to search the community boards to find it.
Right.
So I would say communication and support are absolutely key.
I got a
Quick
funny story. I'll throw. There's a big payroll service company. Um, we put a ticket in with them 2 years ago. It has not been responded to yet.
I
So
couldn't I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine. And then meanwhile, you're in some sort of employment suit or something, waiting on an answer on that.
yeah, yeah. All right. So getting support doesn't have to be on the phone, but easy entering and creating a ticket or doing some kind of chat, I would think, and getting a response, right? Because you can create a ticket. If they don't respond within the same day or 24 hours, that's that I'm guessing that's a red flag.
Correct. Correct. So I think within 24 hours is reasonable, or one business day. Obviously, if you're putting in Friday at 4 p.m., Monday, before noon is sufficient, of course. But there needs to be some sort of system for them to track it. And on that note, that's something I would love to implement on our side is a better tracking system instead of random emails from owners that we don't know if people are responding to or not. But yeah, some sort of tracking system to make sure that somebody's getting back to them, even if they don't have an answer. Let them know that they're going to find an answer and get back to them.
So on that note, it just made me think of something. So I'm going to pivot here for a second. When I owned Empire, we had the same problem. Everything was in email. We actually had HubSpot as our CRM system, and we figured out a way to create a ticketing system within HubSpot. So I was able to look at all the tickets and all the communication was in and out of HubSpot. So I thought pretty unique way of using HubSpot. So I thought that was pretty cool.
And did you have like a nice little dashboard you could look at, or was it easy to pull out the data so that you could see without having to spend hours researching?
I had a dashboard that showed me all the open tickets by person or by department. So, like for example, we had a lease renewal person. Well, at the beginning of the month, all the lease renewals would show up. So she looked like she had all these tickets, right? But it was over for like 90 days, and so we were able to track that. And so if somebody said that like they couldn't get things done, we could actually look to see the performance based on their tickets, and that allowed us to determine if we need to hire different people or just get in some help, right? All that stuff. And we use that for kind of property management stuff, and we used Meld is great for tickets. That allowed us to track everything just in their dashboard.
Right. Yeah. Meld's a very good system for tracking the maintenance metrics for sure.
100%.
One thing I can't stand, you want to have your team performing up to par. You want to look at their KPIs, but when it takes hours in order to pull that data, interpret that data, that becomes a problem.
Absolutely. You can't use it as a KPI. It takes too long to build it. And I'll tell you a story, man. We got rid of. I'm gonna tell you this when we have our glass of wine after our podcast here. But I at Empire, I ended up getting rid of all four of my property managers on the same day. Got rid of them all.
That sounds that would give me nightmares.
So it was about a year in the making. So like I was building a foundation for it. And maybe that's a podcast I'll do one day. Anyway, Murphy's Law. Like 2 weeks later, we get some freaking random lawsuit. It's buried in somebody's email. can't like somebody that doesn't work for me anymore. Can't find it. We end up having the insurance company settle. I find the smoking gun like literally like a month after we settle. Like, oh my God, we were not wrong. We were right. We did everything. Like, here it is. Here's the email. But because we didn't have a ticketing system at that time when this was going down, it was buried in email. And I mean, trying to search an email, good luck, especially when it's not. I can't even search my own email, let alone searching some random property manager's email. So the ticketing system becomes really, really important. All right, so let's go back to the vendors. And so having good support is paramount, probably the number one thing that you're looking at. What's one more thing that you could think of that a vendor should be doing to keep your business?
They should be improving. That Japanese phrase kaizen, continuous improvement. If it is static, then they're falling behind. Even if they were the best a year ago, if they're not constantly doing updates, if they're not listening to complaints from their clients and doing something about it, they're falling behind.
I totally agree, man. Like those are the two big things I could think of as well. Um, and like, the is reaching out and creating a relationship is that like super important, not really important, as long as they're kind of giving the support. Like, where do you come up on that?
So if I have a direct contact with a company, that makes my loyalty to that company so much higher. And for me personally, I don't like to take advantage of those relationships. I won't start with a contact to them. I'll go through the proper ticketing system. But if I've got somebody that I know I can BCC if things are going south, that makes all the difference in the world to me. So I think actually having relationships, going to NARPM conventions if you are a vendor, and making relationships with those property management companies, that's huge.
Where do you fall off on like, and I don't know if there's anything that can be done with it, but like, you meet a vendor and of course you're talking to a salesperson, especially if they get bigger, right? Like even VPM now, like I'm not at all the events. I'm at most of them, but I'm not at all of them. And then, you build a relationship with a salesperson, and then next time you see them at a conference, they got a different business card with them.
So I've seen that a few times. And funny enough, I am more apt to actually use their service that they're working with if I've built that relationship. Now that's assuming that it's in a different field. For example, um, my salesperson for Property Meld went to Rent Scale. And so when we tried out Rent Scale for a little bit, I was comfortable to make that leap because I had that relationship with
Oh,
that salesperson.
that does work.
What's that?
I said that does work then if they move over, they bring over some clients. You
And
never
then
know.
similarly, I have my salesperson with Second Nature. They've moved over to Pest Share. So I'd be a little bit more apt to give Pest. Actually, I think through Second Nature, I think we have a relationship with Pest Share, but we've not used it much. But I'd be more willing to jump fully in with that relationship.
All right, so we're up against it. So I want to finish up with one like let's I want to brainstorm real quick though. So now you've seen it back in '05 what it looked like. Now here we are in 20 years later. Can you believe that? Man, wow, 20 years later. All right, so anybody who's listening to this, tell me your top three things that somebody should have as like whether it's tech stack or just three, just give them three things like this is what Derrick says to have a successful business. These are three tools that you should have.
Strong SEO.
Okay.
If people can't find you, it doesn't matter how good your operations are. So strong SEO. That's huge. That's huge. That's huge. And obviously that's a whole podcast on how you improve your SEO. But strong SEO, a strong main platform. Whether you're talking about Appfolio, whether you're talking about Propertyware, Rentvine, any one of these. But your base software has to be strong. You have to know how to use it. You need to go to their conferences, their user, what do they call them? The learning conferences
Yeah, the
that
user
they do.
conferences. Yep, user
There you
conference.
go. So you have to go to the user conferences, and you should have somebody on your team that is a specialist in each of the features. And then the third one, I would say a good CR. Wait. I am a fan of virtual assistants. So I would say a good platform in which you could hire virtual assistants. I'm
Now
going to throw out VPN maybe as a name.
all right, let's go with the fourth. Let's go with the fourth one though, CRM, because you're right, man. Let's talk about CRM real quick, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, so a good CRM is going to allow you to take those potential clients that you get from that SEO and convert them into actual clients. You're not going to necessarily get somebody on first contact. So having a way where you can automatically put them into workflows, check back in with them, have a KPI dashboard where the sales lead can go in and see who's doing their job. Key, absolutely key, because if you don't have clients, you don't have a business.
Well said. You can tell Derrick is the sales and growth guy at Crystal Properties. I'm sure if I asked your sister, she would give me three. You probably have the same answer on the software, but she'd probably give me two other different answers on that. Dude, it's been awesome. Thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it. If somebody's listening and they want to reach out to you and just pick your brain, what's the best way they can connect with you?
My email is very long, so I will give my phone number and you can text me 707 563 0424. And we are in aggressive expansion mode right now. So if you're sick and tired of property management and looking to get out of it, reach out to me.
All right. And if you are listening to this and you're not a NARPM member, shame on you. Go to narpm.org and join the movement. 800-782-3452. And if you want to be cool like Derrick and get a virtual team, go give us a try at vpmsolutions.com. You can email me directly, Pete at vpmsolutions.com. I am the co-founder. So then you get that connection that you want, not a sales guy that moves around.
Absolutely. I can always BCC you if I need to.
That's right, buddy. Thanks for being here.
Appreciate you, Pete. Thank you.